what is it specifically about me? I'm a genuinely curious person about how things work. Much to the chagrin of my my kids and like anybody, my employees at the company, I'm very particular about kind of I like things in their place. I think this might come from I have that background as being in the military, which they drive in attention to detail. As my career, my short and unsuccessful career as a chef, one thing that I think that was driven into me was this concept. It was a French term, mise en place, everything in its place. That's how you operate super efficiently. You do all your prep, you line it up in a way that you can kind of almost blindly grab at it and move very quickly at scale, right? Anybody's a great home cook, but if you have to put 50 plates out a night or 100 plates out a night, and they have to be identical quality, you start to think about how you prep, how you lay things out, and what your process and systems for delivery are. So I think those things were like kind of ingrained into me. And then, I think, as I see it applied in business, especially in the startup space, and I think this is like one of the rare areas in the startup space, like something that I'm very interested. I'm always super curious and intrigued by founders because I find them like wholly fascinating, right? Like one of the greatest things, almost every founder I've ever met, a CEO, like they can see the statue inside the block of marble, right? And they're out there trying to explain, and they even use, you might even have heard terms like this, like, can you see what I'm saying? Can you see what I'm saying? To a broad organization, this person who has this vision of what they want to build, and they're using kind of loose terms and trying to draw up some sketches of it. And you have an entire organization that absolutely wants to pursue that vision, but they don't know quite where to make the first hammer blow. Like, where do we have to make that strike? Where's the second strike? What are the tools we need? What's the roughing out tools? What are the polishing tools that we need? How do we shape, and what are the steps in which we need to pursue this? And I think, to your point, like, there's a lot of visionary folks out there that are starting business. They're operating by themselves. They've started to get some real great product market fit, right? They've got great attachment. Maybe they're even getting to some level of early scale or even high scale. And it's still a bunch of, can you see what I'm saying? And I think this is where you turn that's the time telling, right? I can look at the stars at any given moment, or the sun, and tell you at this moment, this is what time it is. But as soon as that person's gone sick, working on some other project, and all of a sudden the entire organization doesn't know what time it is. So if you, I think passing that over back to kind of, not to beat up Jim Collins's analogy here too much, but you need clock builders in your organization. You need people that can take that vision, that you can walk through it with. They can sequence what are the steps that need to happen in order to achieve this, knowing that it's not going to happen overnight. And they can be the kind of control mechanism for the steady hand at the rudder for the rest of the organization, to make sure that we're making the demonstrable and necessary sequential steps towards achieving that, and iterating and reporting up. By the way, it's not a one-way street. Like, it's really, as we all know, as we move forward, we get a bunch of new information. We have to kind of change our operating plan, and how we're going to execute based on feedback from the market or competitive changes or what have you. So that integrator role, that execution role, acts as a fantastic conduit between the vision and what's actually happening on the street, and connecting those two pieces together so we can adjust the vision or adjust the strategy to meet the vision along the way. So I think it's super important, whether that can happen inside of one person. I'm sure it can. I'm sure there's plenty of visionaries that are also super operator, tactical execution, capable. But I think for most of I think, as we've seen, most of the successful the companies that we've seen have that partnership, right, of vision and execution working hand in hand together. And I think that's exactly the framework that EOS kind of lays out. They have this visionary role and this integrator role. How do you lay the vision out, and then how do you integrate it across the operating components of the business? And I think you need somebody who's a kind of a little bit of a method-driven person who understands that's curious about kind of all ends of the, you can't just dismiss, well, I'm not an engineer, I don't understand engineering, I'm going to write that off. You have to get curious about how engineering works, what they're working on, how they're setting their frameworks. If you're not a salesperson, you need to understand that. If you're not a marketer, you need to have some understanding of kind of what's going on in a market. Like, be curious, be learning, but be listening a lot for the signal that you are off track. And I think that that's that perfect kind of conduit role that integrator needs to be focused on.